Over to you, Mr. Kevin and Mr. Noel.
Okay, you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Let me just check.
we can hear you, Noel.
Yes, I can hear you, Noel.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this session. I know when we coined this session, we knew it was a bit provoking. All right, work from home, mini hybrid data center. So essentially, I'm not sure what kind of picture conjures in your mind, but hopefully you stay with us to the end, and hopefully that picture is one that will help you out in the time of disaster. Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Noel, all right, and some of you may have come for the earlier keynote, all right. I used to work for Microsoft Malaysia, right, and the last few years supporting the Microsoft regional team across Asia Pacific and Japan. Of course, I actively contribute in LinkedIn and also some of the other social media sites. And alongside with me, we have Kevin. All right, Kevin, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Noel. Yeah, my name is Kevin. I'm from RefineWorks. I'm a technical consultant at RefineWorks, and I'm in the area of focusing on the Microsoft technologies on the Azure Stack HCI, and pretty much on a lot of VDI, LDS, and CTIC solution. And that is my profile. And Noel, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. So a little bit of background in what we're going to cover today. All right. To start with, I believe many of you are starting to get accustomed to this new normal, right? The work from home. So everything that we used to know and do and so forth has somehow, somewhere been reset, if you want, somewhat, to a point where sometimes you don't know whether what day or date it is, right? Most of the time, I think of yesterday, today, and tomorrow, rather than a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and so forth, right? But that said, I think it's important to note that normal people who need to work from home, all right, before they needed to do that, they will work from home, rather they work in the office with a computer or with a laptop. In the work from home scenario, they will bring their laptop or their computer back with them and using their internet connection, or even I've heard recently using their 4G connectivity, right? They will then connect back to the application in the server, back in the office or in the data center, whatever the scenario is. And we do have a little bit of that to share with you shortly, in addition of what Kevin has already shared earlier today. And of course, IT people who manage their IT equipment, including the servers, also had to work from home when the lockdown came along. Right? In Malaysia, we call it the Movement Control Order, MCO for short. Right? Therefore, with their laptop, they connect securely over the internet to manage their service. Whether they're using the traditional Microsoft Management Console or they're using the Windows Admin Center, that was something that they had to do, all right, from there on. There seems to be a bit of noise coming in. Is that you, MC? Can you just check your mic?
No, my mic is muted.
Okay, thank you. Now, one of the things that saddened me a lot when I saw this particular assessment was the amount of businesses which were severely affected. All right, from about 8.5% that which were disastrous down to about 23.7% that were severely affected, and of course 27% which were badly affected. So all in all, if you want, there were almost 60% reported severe, if not to the extreme of disaster. Right? So that said, because of this, many organizations started to make significant changes within your processes. And of course, the working from home has taken on a new norm. If you want, even people like Facebook and Twitter decided to send a lot of their people to work from home. And of course, at the local front, we had PNB, Pemodalan Nasional Berhad, also decided to make the same move, to have their people working from home. Not to mention also some of the largest of companies like Google, Visa, American Express. For the rest of 2020, they have decided that the people will stay home. So you can see that this, if you want, new normal is starting to unfold in a very significant way. Many organizations, right, have embarked on this. So how about the bosses? How about the people who own the business, especially for the small and medium-sized companies and businesses? I believe that the approach that needs to be taken has to be minimalistic and pragmatic, which basically means that it has to be very cost-effective and it has to be just absolutely just enough if you want. Okay, so think about bringing home, if you want, their data center, which is 2 small pizza-shaped boxes called servers. So we're going to take you through, if you want, a brain wave of how we can transform this data center scenario for small businesses. So I wrote this kind of provoking article in LinkedIn not so long ago. A couple of years ago, Microsoft sunk a massive data center in the ocean, right, on the shores of Scotland, right, so that it can boost internet connectivity and also services to many parts of that region, if you want, that didn't have much internet connectivity or services. Now, a lot has happened since then in terms of how data center technology has evolved and so forth. And some of that Kevin will also show and share from his own experience. So this started the ball rolling, if you want, from the work from home perspective in terms of this mini hybrid data. So the mini portion is just that 2 pizza-shaped boxes, hybrid in the sense that, as you saw Ty and Kenny showed earlier, the ability to connect to the Azure cloud and yet be able to deliver the kind of performance, the power needed like a data center. All that together, if you want, forms the from home mini hybrid data center. From Dell Technologies using the PowerEdge R640, which is a 1U server, as mentioned, that pizza-shaped box, right? They can form multiple configurations, 2 to 16 nodes hybrid, 2 to 16 nodes all flash, and so forth. All in all, we have something in the order about 6 to 7 different configurations. Important thing to note is all of these have been validated for Azure Stack HCI. And it looks something like that. So if you think of how they are connected, right? So in the 2-node design, you have that blue and cable, right? In the 2-node design, we will use what we call a DAC cable, a direct attached cable between the 2 servers so that you have redundancy. So it could be a 10 or 25, but since it's directly connected, it will use 25, and you could have either have IWAP or Rocky, right? In this case, depending on the RDMA card. But the best part to this is just like what Amar and Chua talked about in the 2-node design, you do not need switches. So it's truly transformational, if you want, in terms of how it's been architected. In addition to that, you will have a 1 gig connection to both nodes for management purposes. And of course, in many a time in this service, you will also have its what they call RDRAC, for example, connected for the Dell service. How about for HPE? HPE has a similar 1U server called the ProLiant DL360. In this particular form factor, it has 2 different configurations, hybrid and all flash. And interesting to note that here they only go from 2 to 4 nodes. Obviously, from a positioning perspective, HPE thinks that this is best for that smaller 2, 3, and 4 node design. But if you think about what some of the teams have shared earlier, all right, they have in the order of about 9 different configurations, all right, in terms of hardware, from floor standing pedestal server down to even what they call rack servers, and a rack as well as blade servers. So they have a much broader range of servers. So therefore, they have the luxury, if you want, to concentrate the DL360 for just a 2 to 4 node. And of course, in addition to that, in the same way, if you plug in the 2 servers together, right, you do not need a switch. But the best part about it, in their validated configuration, they also supported JBODs. And there are 14 configurations in total where JBODs are supported. JBoss here basically is a chassis, if you want, right, with the disk inside, but without any intelligence in terms of its connection to the service. So from that perspective, it is just like a pass-through using SAS cables, right, from the node into the JBoss. But it's also important to note, as the design shows, if you have 2-node server, you also need 2 JBoss, one attached to each node, so that on both sides is balanced. So whatever data you stored on one is also stored on the other. And that's the approach that Azure Stack HCI uses as compared to some of the other solutions. So in a two-way mirror, two-way mirror, or a nested two-way, or any of those combinations, you'll find that it is able to store data resiliently across the 2 nodes, allowing you to support the design that Chua was talking about. Of course, from Lenovo, on the other hand, they have the ThinkSystem SE350 Edge server. This small little box, which is probably no bigger than maybe a quarter of the 1U server, has the ability to use wireless connection if you want, or access to it. As you can see, those 2 little antennas sticking out. In the same way, you will connect them similarly to how you would do it with the Dell as well as the HPE server. But interesting thing is, these 2 boxes, you could literally pick them up and put them into your backpack and carry it home. So this work from home design, if you want, is truly, if you want, made for that on the move. And as the story unfolds, you may be wondering, why are we so, in this part of the world, we say kiasu, right? But the key point to think about is, how much is your data worth? If your data is worth everything, because everything from your inventory to even the designs of your products and your accounting, your HR, and so forth are stored inside those servers, I think they are worth everything to you. From a business perspective, definitely disasters like floods, earthquakes, looting, and so forth that we've been seeing in the last couple of months will send fears down your spine if you didn't have them protected. So it's important to note that things like flooding, things like earthquakes, and even, if you want, looting that has been happening in the US has created major disasters apart from the pandemic, right? We talked about the COVID-19 affecting lives. We talked about COVID-19 malware affecting IT. In addition to that, you have all these additional, if you want, disasters, all right? So it's not surprising that The Economist, as I shared earlier, says that data is now more valuable than anything else. It used to be oil, but if you check even the Malaysian price of petrol today, right, it's still under 2 ringgit. It's been a long time that we've seen this kind of prices. So it's important to note that data today continues to bring forth a different meaning than what it used to be. Data really means your business, if you want. So if we can, let's take on the first interview question that I've created, right? Kevin, in your last few months, right, trying to overcome the lockdown and so forth, and I'm sure many customers have come to you to ask about how to manage their service and even protect their data and so forth in the situation where they cannot go to the office or data center, right? And of course, like you probably know, most of their data, if not all, are stored in the service. So how do they cope in this kind of situation? Can you share with us what your experiences are?
Thanks. With our experience in being an SI, a system integrator, we besides actually supporting the customer, we ourselves also experience the similar things. We have a problem to actually travel back to office physically. So what we do is actually we have a VPN or virtual applications or desktop access, securely actually accessing to our servers or our customer servers that we supporting them. So we are able to transmit data and accessing application in a secure manner.
Can you also say how they protect their service? How do they prevent these cyber criminals from attacking their users who are working at home, as well as their back-end infrastructure like their servers and their data centers?
So from the endpoint perspective, They have proper antivirus and personal firewalls lockdowns to protect the endpoints. Then when the endpoints, the computers will be established VPN connections or virtual apps or desktop remote ODS sections actually connect that to their system. So for us, we're also using the semantics to providing support instead of using the traditional tools like Improver or VNC, which is known as a lot of institute.
Okay, thank you so much for the sharing. All right, I think that's valuable information. So basically what you're saying is Symantec seems to be an important part of your solution that you just shared, correct? Okay. All right, so let's look at how we think about bringing the service home with us, right, from this scenario, right? Obviously, to make that possible, there are some security measures that we need to consider, all right? So managing cyber threats is one. Of course, we need to think about how we have multi-layered security, so to make it harder for the cyber criminals from reaching your data and stealing your data, and even to the point of destroying your data, all right? And earlier on, I believe you also mentioned something about shielded virtual machines. Can you share with us, and maybe even if you have the opportunity, maybe you can do a demo, all right, on how these shielded virtual machines can help us in that respect?
Sure, will do. So most of the times we have a multi-layer of protection. We have a firewall, we have endpoint, we have many protections. But one of the key things that we often neglected is a virtualization with our Hyper-V, our virtual machines. So those machines can be easily get stolen and then taking out the data. Let me show it to you with Microsoft shielded VM feature functionality, how actually physically protect our virtual machine being compromised.
Okay, you need to share, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me just stop sharing, all right, so you can take over.
Can you transfer over to me? I still, okay, now I can, give me a second.
Okay. Yes, we see your screen, Kevin. Go ahead. Yeah, great.
Over here, we have a shielded VM set up in our environment. So one actually is a fabric host. These servers actually is a shielded VM environment that actually protecting all the VM. So typically in VMs with the unshielded, we can right-click, connect, and we can see the screen, and sometimes we can log it in, and we're able to perform most of the things. Second thing is also sometimes we also can see from the thumbnails. So this one's actually providing there's ability to access, but in the environment that actually enabled or protected with a shielded VM, when we try to establish a connection, you will be noticed that you cannot connect to a shielded VM machine using a basic section of virtual machine connection. You have to use the proper things like remote desktop connection. And over here, we also cannot see the thumbnails, the shielded VM. So in order to accessing our virtual machine, which is protected, we have to do with the RDP section. So this RDP section, when I'm connecting to the shielded VM, I can see over here is my Active Directory with all the computer objects, all the things, which is the crucial thing to me. So just put it in the scenarios that in the events that a hypervisor host actually get compromised, but what the hackers will do, first things actually they will copy out the virtual hard disk. So over here I have two. One unshielded VM is the VMs that actually unprotected, which is we can see over here, unshielded VM. And then there's a shielded VM. Lab news is actually a shielded VM is protected with shielded VM. So what I do is as an attackers, I can just open, mount it, then I can see my server. And as we know, this is an Active Directory, then I can easily go to Active Directory database and copy out the database and run a password cracker to crack the password. That is very scary. How about in the events, when I try to accessing to my
Take your time. Take your time.
so when I try to access it to my VM, which is with the shielded VM, I try to mark it, doing the same thing, try to copy out file. We may notice that there's an error message that pop out, come out of the file because it's uninitialized. So we go to this main PC, we can see the E drive logs looking on. This when we try to access it, it will show you actually you need to enter the password. Maybe I'm doing a smarter way. Since I cannot go to Windows Explorer, how about I go to E drive in the command prompt? So when I go to E drive, he said there's the section is protected and I'm not able to access. So there are many ways attackers will try to access, including go to the disk managers and accessing those folders, the forums.
This is very comprehensive, Kevin. Very good. It is definitely very hacker-proof.
So those we can see E, but over here we want to try to exploit. I thought I am very smart, but I think the shielded VM has prevented me from accessing. You can see here the BitLocker encrypted because the shielded VM is rely on Microsoft rely on the TPM chipset on the hardware to encrypt the data. Yeah, Noel, over back to you.
Thank you, Kevin. That was very good demo. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. Let me pass back the control to you.
Yeah. Now, it's important to note that this technology is something that comes with Windows Server Data Center Edition, all right? And of course, Windows Server Data Center Edition, there are lots more capabilities apart from shielded VMs. So shielded VMs being one of those built-in security as part of the, if you want, the multi-layered security provides very strong protection to the hypervisor, in this case, Hyper-V. So every aspect from the OS, and you heard about the Windows Defender ATP that Clement talked about, right? And of course, many other layers of security capabilities built into Windows Server gives us a comprehensive end-to-end security portfolio, if you want, right? But there's also another aspect that we have to consider, right? When we bring these servers back to the home environment, obviously we need an extra layer, all right? So I'm going to ask you to Kevin to share a little bit about this concept of a bastion host.
Thank you, Noel. Noel, can you? Okay, you have passed me the sharing the screen.
Just speak to it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the bastion host setup is typically we have something known as a management workstation. So the management workstation is basically the key to all your servers. So because the accessing from remotely, we want to actually ensure that remote administration carry out in a secure manner. We will establish a VPN connections, or we establish virtual application connecting back to the management server. So the management server will be logically or sometimes physically isolated by using with addition NIC cards or different VLANs. So, and only on the VLANs, especially allowed on the firewall, they allow the management servers, the jump station, to able to only the jump station can access to our application server, our Active Directory, or our file server for remote accession. So this actually will reduce the attack surface, meaning they close down the doors for people to enter to their critical infrastructure. So this is the concept of the Bastion host setups. And let me do a quick sharing with you how the things being setting up or configured in a Hyper-V environment.
You want to show the your screen?
Yes.
Okay, just hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. You all can see my screen? So over here, we have a virtual switch that over the production V switch is for the server communicate with all the client computers. And the management is actually what I call it as a jump station. So there will be a physical NICs that assign to it. Then or we can do with the additional VLAN that is supporting. So then the next things where we assign the physical NICs, this management station will be selecting with the management NICs. If let's say your environment have a VLANs, we're supporting a different VLAN. So your firewall, the next thing, your firewall only allow this specific IP from this management segment to remotely managing all your servers. So we have closed down all the doors or the point of entry for others to the attacker to attack your system. Noel, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So if I understand you correctly, basically what you're saying is, with this particular design, the only way to enter the internal segment, server segment, and so forth is via this jump station. That is part of the management segment. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
In banking environment, then use it as a so-called middleware.
Okay, very good. And of course, for normal users who are coming in to access the application servers, the file servers, the database servers, even for authentication and so forth, they will come in through the normal server connection, which is the one in orange. Is that right?
Yes, correct. So they have to access to the normal with a VPN or web-based application or application virtualization.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you so much for that. I think that's very clear. So the Bastion host need to be an integral part of this work from home mini hybrid data center. Right now, let's move on to another aspect. How about the home environment? Obviously, when the servers live inside the server room or in the data center, there is adequate cooling. There's a way to control the dust and various other aspects that keeps the environment somewhat clean one. All right. So how about the home environment? How can we make it appropriate for servers to live in, if you want? Or is there anything special that we need to do, right, to make it possible? Kevin, over to you.
Yeah, there will be a. Noel, can you move to the next slide?
Yep.
Yeah. So mini home data centers, we try to keep it in a nice and neat setups. So important actually because of staying at homes, we want to actually find a secure place. Preferable actually is a lockdown areas that actually we have able to secure our power source that actually to prevent power outage, because power is actually the lifeblood of the servers. Then we also want to make sure our electricity loads are supported, and preferably this with uninterrupted power supplies, so actually to able to regulate the power usage. Then the second thing is we want to actually maintain the temperature between 10 to 35 Celsius, and also want to make sure there's no humidity. The environment is not humid, and most of the servers nowadays are able to support something called airflow, meaning run without aircon. If let's say the environment is allowed, do run with air conditioning in a closed room environment. So always look for a place that is a dry and clear area there. And you want to have buying a small smoke detector which costs you about 20 to 30 ringgit, which is about 10 USD. They actually can detect the smokes in case of the fire. Avoid sunlight and windows area to prevent heat and also water leakage. Back to you, Noel.
Thank you. That was very good. So it could look even like a neat little cabinet, all right? Like I don't know, maybe like a big speaker, all right? If you want to think of it from your audio system at home, so it could pretty much fit very neatly in a home, and not stand out in a very significant way. Because at some point, some people were saying, "Oh, do I need a separate room? Can I put this in the living area, and stuff like that?" So I think that's an important part of what we need to think about, right, from the mini, hybrid data center perspective. So the next bit that I wanted us to think about is, now that we have this data center set up, right, the servers are running and so forth, we have the best-in host, making sure that we reduce the attack surface, as we call it, right, for cyber criminals and so on. How would the users actually come in? I think you sort of mentioned that a little bit at the start. Can you go into a bit more detail and share about your experience about allowing users to access applications and their data?
Sure, thank you. Can you allow me to do some sharing with my screen?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Just imagine that right now we are users. Like we can use any computers at home as long as anything that can support browsers. And the users will be able to access into our DS web or solution like Citrix to actually remotely managing or running their application. For instance, over here I'm running a application virtualization with RDS, and I'm able to run Microsoft PowerPoint over the web. So this also can be applied to the similar like your line of business application, your SAP, your Microsoft Dynamics apps.
How complicated is it to set up something like this, Kevin?
This one is basically it just require a couple of VMs, then running on then configure the RDS gateways and the number of rows. Then the next is you are installing the apps. So it's pretty much simple. It just requires you to spend a couple of days or efforts to bring it out the system.
Okay, that's nice to know. So about 2 days, and someone who knows how to set up remote desktop services, and I believe a lot of the instructions are also available on the Microsoft website. And of course, they can always reach out to you to get some support as well.
Yeah. So this is how we run the apps. And for running the desktops, we can just click on it, and the similar things, everything's in either the application or the desktop will be run securely on the backend system, and which is powered by the Azure Stack HCI, which is provide the throughputs of the IOPS and the optimum performance.
That's very good. That's very good. I like the demo that you're showing. It's very clear on how simple it is for users to access, right, the applications. Was that one of your daughters, Kevin?
Oh yeah, I closed the door and somebody.
But that's okay. Well, this is what work from home 2020, right? So we are expecting that kind of interruption, all right? So it's okay. We totally understand that.
Perhaps I over back to you with the screens. So this somehow it takes a little bit longer time to log into getting a new profile. Okay.
Yep. Okay. No worries. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for that. Um, so as you can see, all right. So far, what we have covered from the user side, they can access the applications. They can go in securely via the Bastion host, right? In the server backend, it could be a simple 2-node server, all right. And of course, within the service is protected by shielded VMs, making sure that if ever cyber criminal hacks into the system, they will have difficulty getting any of the data out. So it prevents what we call data leakage, if you want. So from that, it takes us, if you want, to the last section of what we wanted to spend a little bit of time understanding in terms of providing some guidance to you, right, on how to move forward. Because in some countries, like India, for example, where a lot of my good friends are, things are not seemingly getting better fast enough. All right, I feel for the pain that the people are going through. Right, the infection seems to be still rising. Right, and of course, the sign of a release, a recovery from a lockdown doesn't seem to be as imminent and so forth. So I want to make sure that whatever we put together for you in this session and plus all the other sessions are pragmatic, minimalistic, realistic, cost-effective, so that you can take home these solutions and put them in place with the guidance from people like us, right? So, Kevin, can I get your thoughts on how a small and medium business, all right, in the next 6 months can cope with a lockdown? If the lockdown continue to be very tight, where the IT people cannot go to the server room or the data center, and the users continue to have to work from home with very limited freedom and so forth. How would a situation like that, right, be managed? Because many countries, as big as the one in India, like India, for example, is still going through that very situation. How would they be able to cope?
Okay. So in the initials, the lockdowns happen in Malaysia. We have a little bit struggles in terms of how the way we work for the first 1 to 2 weeks. And slowly we adapt it, and this experience we have. So first things, actually, we enable the technology to support us. So we have the VPN or virtual apps and desktops for us actually accessing remotely. And so the other possibility is if let's say there is concern about managing the server physically, we probably have to think about bringing back the servers back home to manage it, either being the owner or being the IT supports. Then second things is the people skills, the end users skills, because many of them don't get used to work online or doing video conferencing. We probably have to providing them some training and assistance to reshape their skills, so they will get into the new normal, how the way things should work. So after a little bit, a week or two of adjustment, people's mindsets will start to get into a new way of working. To get ourselves prepared with the new technologies, with the remote access, and also train our people. Then we are very ready.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So based on your own customer scenarios, what collaborative tools and conferencing tools did they end up using in the last few months?
There will be primarily two of the video conferencing tools that they use. One is using Microsoft Teams, the other actually is using Zoom. Actually, they separate video conferencing and also discussion meetings.
Okay, that's very good. So Microsoft Teams and Zoom, right? Just like what we are using now, like we are using Zoom to get through, and then the team is using Teams to stream it outwards. Okay, so very good. So you foresee that in the next 6 months, organizations that are still in countries with a very tight lockdown, they will continue to have to struggle through this period. How do they train their users during a lockdown? Considering, like you mentioned, that many of them were surprised by the lockdown. Obviously, these companies didn't have a video conferencing and a way to work remotely, right? So while the users are really stuck at home, how did they train these users?
So the initiatives they are probably have providing, the IT will actually providing a handout with the steps by step how to do it, so that the users will follow. And the other, initially the IT will spend a lot of time over the phone, actually to guide them or remote accessing to the machine, show it to them how to do. And the other is the IT also can video record how actually the tools being used. Let's say Zoom, those, and the user will quickly pick it up.
Okay, that's a very good idea. So record a video with step-by-step instructions on how to use the tools and sending the video to them, and probably even over the phone using a WhatsApp call or whatever it is, which doesn't cost anything except for the internet connection, right? To guide them on how to have it set up and so forth. All right. There is also a tool from Microsoft called Autopilot. All right. And I know for a fact that some of the customers out there from small, medium, and large have taken advantage of the situation where they are buying a new laptop, all right, to have it come to them together with Autopilot. Because Autopilot allows the IT person to configure the settings on how these laptops will connect back to the office via authentication through Azure, Active Directory, and even the VPN connection, and maybe even the RDP script and icons, if you want, on the desktop of the user's machine. So I think a combination of what you just shared, very valuable, plus this Autopilot technology that's available from Microsoft, gives us a nice package, if you want, to help our customers who are still stuck in the work from home, right, under a very tight lockdown. So great advice. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for that. All right. I'm just wondering, how's your demo going? Any chance you can still show something? How about your Citrix demo that you were doing earlier?
Okay, give me a second.
Yeah, sure. Have a look. See whether any of that can provide some additional value. All right. So while we wait for him to check on his demos, all right, what I wanted to do is also to touch on a little bit on what's important in our current state, if you want, right? Earlier we talked about how the hackers were, how do you say, harassing and attacking users, like in the UK, right? I had some glitches on my slides, so I thought maybe this will be a good opportunity to catch up on that, right? So let me go through that part a little bit, all right? So as I was sharing, all right, some of the big names like Facebook, Marriott, and so forth has lost many millions of records, right? And many of these records contain very sensitive information of users. In fact, my own data was lost through the British Airways attack. All right, the hackers attacked the British Airways online site, and my information was stolen. And not long after that, I started to get a whole lot of spam and messages and so on. So, as mentioned, truly today, the world's most valuable resource is no longer oil, is data. Now, this BBC report was particularly interesting, that caught my attention. All right, what they call a hacker, a white hat hacker, if you want, right, managed to hack into the CCTV camera of these criminals, these scammers, right? So the BBC report says that UK receives about 21 million scam calls every month. Can you imagine living in fear because of these scam calls? It's almost like being trapped in your home, if you want. All right, and of course, these scammers pretend to be from banks, computer companies, even pretending to be from Microsoft or from some of these cloud companies like AWS and so forth, retailers, and even the government. In fact, even in Malaysia, we have had untold amount of those coming in through our phone, not just through the computers. So this particular situation whereby when this Irish hacker managed to record many hours of these scammers attacking and scaring these people into paying up and so forth, finally they were caught. So as you can see, just recently, a few months ago, as the lockdown started to occur, all right, this article came out, which got me very excited. All right, this hacker has exposed this call center in Jakarta, in Kolkata, all right, India. Finally, we see a situation where justice prevails. So to me, all right, crime never pays. Eventually, right, they will get caught. So it's exciting that this has happened. So for me, what Jesse says is so appropriate. Security is like oxygen. When you have it, you don't notice it. But when it's gone, you don't survive long. So if security equals oxygen and without oxygen, you're gone, it's not surprising that without security, your whole environment will be on shaky grounds. So it's important to note that whatever solution that we have talked about has to be left, right, and centered, wrapped around with security, right? So that's the part that I felt that was an important bit that I needed to cover off. Last portion is mitigating many of these risks, all right? That's lies centered with this aspect of cyber insurance. In Malaysia alone, I realized in the last couple of years, we have had multiple companies now offering it, from AIG to Chubb to MSIG to Tokyo Marine and so forth. And that's where I was so excited. I got a couple of my insurance friends, all right, to sign up, all right. So one of them is offering AIG, all right. His name is Kian Chong, right. His number and email address. So reach out to him if you want to understand more cyber insurance from AIG. And of course, the other friend, Sunny, all right, his number and email address on the screen. Reach out to him, all right, for the Chubb version of the cyber insurance. And I'm sure there are others out there. And if you start polling out, you soon realize that there are many policies available today. So the choice is not limited if you want. So Kevin, so how's your demo? Can we share a couple of minutes if you're ready? Yeah? Okay.
Can you pass me the sharings? Okay.
Yep. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, over here, I have a demo session that actually to show the 3D application that actually we implemented for a public university. The school have about 20,000 students. So the schools actually have many high definition application because during these periods of the lockdowns, the university students are not able to go back to school. They don't have face-to-face classes. So they actually leverage on those virtual apps and the desktops actually run all the high definition application in their environment. So you can see here are the things like Photoshop, Mayas that runs in their environment.
Kevin, just before you go further, I believe you told me about this a couple of years ago. It wasn't recent, right?
Yes, on what?
In terms of UMS having this portal with the ability to access all these apps and so forth, was this a recent thing that they put up?
This customer has been putting up within the campus initially, but with these reasons of lockdowns, they have setting out the past few months to providing.
Okay. Okay, so they basically expanded the option to use this capability further because of the lockdown.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
so
very good, very good.
Only restrict to accessing locally only. We also have customers bank that actually then one of the director actually with the coronavirus. Then within a week, the organization have putting the top priorities to actually move into this kind of solution. So they are what we know is that the organization have about 4,000 staff. About half of the people actually accessing to the solution to work from home.
Very
so
impressive.
Things that we do for education sectors. We also do the similar things for ourselves. Okay. So I do a quick demonstration to you.
Sure.
And there's a passcode that you're seeing over here. This actually we enable with a Google Authenticator. So this will be a one-time password that allows me to be securely accessing to my system. The two-factor authentication also can be supporting with Microsoft Azure or proprietary commercial two-factor authentication solution.
Very good.
So the passwords, so is the with the efforts of eliminating the password and strengthen the remote access. So I can launch my desktop anytime, anywhere with any devices. So the IT doesn't require to be worried about the machines are not protected or the machines is not compliant with the corporate standards.
Very good. How long would it take to deploy a simple solution like this, say for 10 users?
If we use, we actually do a rapid deployment with targets less than a week to complete the deployment.
Okay. Okay. And what sort of ballpark investment would someone would have to get, say in Malaysian ringgit or US dollars?
There are two types of solutions primarily. One actually is a Microsoft ODS solution. So the ODS solution we pretty much leverage on the existing Windows Server license. Then the investment is just purely on Microsoft Remote Desktop Services for the user count or the device count. But if we say for the Citrix, because it's they provide advanced feature and functionality, that will be licensing cost will be looked at. So the ODS license we look at is in the Malaysian dollar is about 100, so it's about USD 100 plus. And for Citrix, it's about close to 1,000.
Okay.
So we look at it, let's say with the Citrix solution, we'll be looking at 1,000 plus, about 1,005, and to run on the Citrix platform. Those things are designing for high security or high definition or very high definition application demanding environment. Yeah. So that is actually we can run with the entire access like normals in our at homes. So we are also able to restrict what the policies or the data being able to transmit over.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
Back to you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. I think that's very clear. All right. If I can just summarize what we've covered. So we looked at the front end in terms of a client logins from the start of the day right through to connecting securely into the back end with VPN. We also looked at securing the back end with shielded VMs. We also looked at exposing the application and the virtual desktop through RDS as well as Citrix. All right. So I think today the amount of solutions out there is more than ample, from a low end to a high end, through ultra simple for SMB customers to a more complex for a larger customer scenario and so forth. And of course, even bringing a couple of servers home could be a valid way of deploying a highly secure environment. So I think for customers out there who are still seeking for a viable solution, right, you have found them, right, through joining this session. So hopefully you can circle back to us, all right, and by all means, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself, all right. I'd love to be able to share more, and of course, even bring in people like Kevin, for example, right, who's got vast amount of experience and so forth. So I hope to hear from you, all right, and together with my community, all right, I believe we will definitely be able to help you in one way or another. So thank you so much for joining us, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to put them onto the chat window. All right, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the day. All right, we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.